All right, Diesel heads, let's just get straight to it. It's episode 2 of the Chronicles of Diesel, a chronological jaunt through the filmography of one Vin Diesel. My name is Ethan. With me here is Devin.
Don't smoke any of my fucking herb.
He does say that. He does say that.
I had a couple other ones, but I'll wait for us to
There's
go
a
through
lot. I wrote one of them down.
I have a couple.
I'm surprised you didn't use one.
I have a couple here, but this one I thought was the funniest out of the bunch. So once we go through the plot and the story, we'll...
Just shout them out, you know?
Yeah.
That quote was from a 1997 film called Strays, a Vin Diesel produced, directed, and starred in film. His first actual real film, not one where he is a stand-in extra, not one where it's, a short film, which was very good, but, not a feature-length film. This is a feature-length film, a Vin Diesel film, and that's what we're going to be talking about today on the Chronicles of Diesel. A monthly show where we talk about Vin Diesel's filmography. We had our first episode where we talked about his beginnings, and now we're kind of hitting it off, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, got the NOS in the engine, dude.
Exactly. How this show works is that we start off with current Vin Diesel news, then we jump into a little bit of history surrounding the film that we're going to be talking about today. We'll recap the film, and then talk about Vin Diesel's performance, and then let you know what you can look forward to next month. So why don't we get down to Vin News Network, or whatever you want to call your little segment there. What's Vin Diesel been...
What's Diesel been up to? So last time when we recorded, we were like the third week of March, so we missed out on a couple like late March Instagram posts. So I'm going to start with Instagram, and then I'll talk about any news or maybe articles if I find any that I feel like are relevant. On Instagram on March 30th, he posted a video of his daughter singing He's Got the Whole World in His Hands, Paulina there. It was for Tyler Perry, I guess. There was some sort of Tyler Perry challenge. I don't remember seeing it. That was March 30th. And then March 31st, he gave a shout out to Sony, and I believe the terms he used. It was a picture of him from his one photo shoot that we saw, but specifically the one where there's a ring of fire, and he has his like fists on the pavement, and he's looking at the camera. He wrote, "So grateful that you are enjoying Bloodshot around the world on digital. Thank you, Sony, for just getting it done. It's always exciting to see a new character come to life and begin their journey. You, the audience, make that happen. Grateful and blessed." And photo credits.
Yeah.
So that was March 31st. So didn't it come out digital that day, or was it? I remember it was like we watched it that week.
24th?
That makes sense.
Something
like a week
like
later.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was before we recorded anything about Awakenings and Multifacial.
That's
so it
right.
had to have been.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then he had
that felt like that was decades ago.
I know.
that we saw that movie.
That time was so slow too.
Oh,
now it's like super quick. I'm like, wow, April's almost over already. His next post was first post of April 8th. It's a picture of him in like some sort of Viking or maybe barbarian like armor. He has a beard, he has some hair, and he has like this torch or like a flame blade or something. And I didn't know anything about it until I did some research, and people think that was him hinting at Last Witch Hunter 2, which we haven't seen Witch Hunter 1 yet. Might be a while, but there might be a sequel on the way. What are we gonna do if the sequel comes out and we are not at the first one yet? Do we have to go see the sequel without any context of the first one?
Yeah.
Is that the rule?
Apparently, Triple X4 is in pre-production.
Dude, we need to catch up quick.
We need to fast forward 3 years and tell him to put his movies on pause. Yeah. Yeah, no, we'll just like how we did with Bloodshot, we'll do just a little special review episode.
Yeah, so he had that picture, and it said, and he wrote the caption, "Some of the best scripts will be written during this time. All love, always." So is he hinting at writing the script? I don't know.
Who knows?
Mysterious man. Mysterious.
It's hard to tell how much stock you can give into the things he says like that when they're these just sweeping statements. Like, what does that mean? Because some people, if they say that, it's going to be like, oh, they're just talking about the industry. And other people, like, it's obviously he's hinting at something he's doing. Here, it's like, he could just be saying that. Who knows?
He posted a picture of him from that movie and then just wrote, some of the best scripts will be written during this time. Maybe he was saying that, like, oh, I wrote that script during the time when, I was stuck at home or something when I was sick. I don't know. You know what I mean? So Yeah, I don't know how much you can really read into it, but people who like the first one are excited. So happy for
One
them.
of his lowest earning films, I believe, if I was looking at the box office rankings correctly.
I don't think.
But,
I mean, I'm sure money like talks at the end, but like from what we've seen from him lately, he doesn't do it for the money. I don't think. You know what I mean?
money definitely helps, though.
Yeah, of course. If we were getting paid for this, we'd probably be doing more Vin Diesel weekly shows. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So then on April 12th, he posted a Happy Easter video. It has like a bush or like a tree or shrubbery, and it has a Happy Easter on it, like some sort of decoration. And he just says that, like, from, I think, my family to yours, Happy Easter. And I'm like, thanks, Vin. I actually liked that, like, outside of, like, I remember seeing that post, and I'm like, oh, I got to talk about this. I like that. I'm like, that's very nice. Thank you. Thank you, Diesel. Appreciate it. And then April 19th was just a selfie with the caption, Happy Creative. I don't know if this photo was taken recently or he had it already.
Happy Creative?
Yeah. With a capital C.
Of course. I mean, he calls himself a thespian, so he would also call himself a proper noun creative for sure.
But, yeah, I wasn't sure if the selfie was, like, recent. It's a little pixelated, so I'm guessing he's had this photo for a while, maybe?
Yeah, could be.
And then his last one here, which was yesterday.
Oh, wow. Yesterday as in April 22nd?
Yep, Earth Day. He wrote...
On the day that we're recording.
He wrote Happy Earth Day. And he has a video of him saying on behalf of him, and I think he said Groot as well, Happy Earth Day. I'm like...
On behalf of him and all the muscle cars with all their CO2, Happy Earth Day.
Maybe the next Fast and Furious movie will have all electric vehicles. That'd actually be pretty dope if he was like, look, we're going to be eco-friendly up in here. Like they fight, I don't know, oil companies. I think that'd be really dope.
Well, oil is worth less than nothing right now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But yeah, that's all for Instagram. I'm sure he might post something within the next week, and we'll just talk about it in, what is it, April? We'll talk about it in May. I don't know what month it is.
Time flies when we're not doing anything at home.
So I looked for articles, and there's just like random articles either about Bloodshot, like reviewing the film. There's a couple like fast rumors, but nothing like I felt like that was worth sharing. The only other news I really have is
nothing that really had any credit to it.
Yeah, just like random articles from like smaller like bloggy-esque websites. So then I looked up Bloodshot just to see if there's anything news about happening in that.
I don't think they would ever release any.
I was looking for like any
money
digital.
it made, right?
Yeah, well, only thing I have is Bloodshot worldwide is $28 million, which its budget was 45. So I'm like, honestly, all things considered, at least it made half its money back. I don't know how much it's going to get from digital sales. I know we contributed
$40 from us. Yeah, I mean, I think it could get close, and I think
if it makes its money back, that'd be a success. I think with everything.
But even if it gets close, I think it's easy to excuse the film's. What's the word I want to use? Commercials.
Failure.
Yeah. It's easy to excuse that, and then it's easy to be like, well, we could still greenlit a sequel,
Yeah. And once again, you saying how much weight should be put into a sweeping statement, but he did write in that one photo that like bringing this character to life as if like there's more on the way, like the way.
Yeah, but he also said Groot in Guardians 3 is going to be Alpha Groot. No one has any idea what he means by that.
He said it's always exciting to see a new character come to life and begin their journey. Like, I don't know. Once again, though, like you said, we can't take too much into that, but maybe Sony was like, look, I know there's nothing we could have really done besides maybe have delayed the film, but at the time, everything closed down that day that movie released. So, I mean, you can't really predict that.
Yeah.
But, like, honestly, I was actually shocked. I thought it was going to be, for worldwide, $28 million, I thought it was going to be, like, 10. Because I'm like, who went to see it?
Well, its opening was, like, 2.
Yeah.
And then I guess it, like you said, 28. It must have made some of that.
But I don't think that any of that is from digital. I didn't really see any.
Yeah, because, like, I don't think any there's no easy way to get those numbers besides
Do they ever release DVD sales?
a company voluntarily giving out, like, if Amazon's like, yeah, this is how much money Bloodshot made on Amazon Prime. Like, they don't do that. So
it's weird how they do that. We have, like, it's public knowledge being like, here's how much money by the dollar, this movie made back in 99. Like, why do we have that information, but we're not allowed to look at, like, DVD sales over time? You know what I mean? Like, how, like, especially, like, let's say Friends on Blu-ray, or Friends just overall sold on, like, some sort of at-home format, you know what I mean? Whether it be VHS,
HBO Max,
HBO Max.
Well, because that's where it's going.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, how
streaming.
much money. Like, I would love to, like, to see stats like that. Like, who knows? Maybe what if Bloodshot did awesome on digital? We just don't know. Do you think Sony would
that
ever
I guess
come
it
out
would
and
matter
say it?
to? I think, yeah, if they were like, hey, this ended up being a success, and maybe we'll do
Spider-Man
this in the
movies,
future.
Why wouldn't they share that? I feel like that was probably sold well.
But there is an angle you can take with this now. Let's say it did make a lot of money off home things, and obviously it's public knowledge that it was a commercial failure in the box office in theaters before it shut down. With COVID-19 and theaters being shut down and all these films being digital now, you have an angle of saying how impressed you are at its success, how impressive the success is considering what's going on. And then you can also spin it and be like, and we might be doing this with future films in the future. I don't know why I said future twice. But they could release not a Spider-Man or something that's big that they know they can get a lot of ticket sales 3 weeks out, but another random film like Bloodshot and be like, and after 1 week it's on digital to buy. Not to rent, but to buy. If you don't want to go to the theater and you just want to, have a couple friends over and buy the film, you can do that. Maybe they'll do that. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I would just like to know. I mean, I hope once again, like, whether or not, like, did we think Bloodshot was amazing? No, but I had fun, so I'm like, yeah, sure, give me a sequel, whatever.
I wouldn't be upset if they announced a sequel. I'll put it that way.
So I'm hoping, people keep their jobs or whatever. Yeah, I mean, just 'cause sometimes usually sequels, people might be like, oh, you were in the first one, so let's be in the second one. I don't know, but yeah, that's really all I got though. Otherwise, for Vin Diesel news, it's a light month, but I think it's a light month for a lot of things. So.
He's sitting home, so yeah. All right, so I guess it's time we talk about the history surrounding the film Strays, 1997 release. Not too much to go off of, but I have a couple things. Some of it piggybacks off of what we mentioned last month when talking about Multifacial. Basically, after Multifacial, he worked on Strays and released it, but he went to the Cannes Film Festival and showed off Multifacial to try to get a sponsor of sorts to help fund Strays, and it did not work out.
Well, it did work out indirectly later on.
Yes, we'll get there, but actually not with Multifacial. That was a bit of a misunderstanding on this part. So to help finance the film, Vin Diesel worked as a telemarketer for a year, and guess how much money he raised 1 year of being a telemarketer? $43,000.
Dude, that's a lot of money. Back then, in 97?
That has to be commissions.
96?
It's got to be commissions, too. It's the only way to do it.
That's more than, like, majority of Americans, I think, make. Yeah. Don't quote me on that, but...
Exactly.
Probably
the budget
close.
ended up being around $50,000, so he probably got some extra money in from one of the 10 producers this film had. This film has 10 producers. Gordon Bielonic, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's Bijelonic, Bielonic, maybe. He gets first billing as producer on this film over Vin Diesel, who's second. And he, at least at the time, I don't know if he is right now, was an executive at One Race, which is Vin Diesel's production company. Strays is his first credit. as a producer.
Okay.
So One Race was kind of born during the making of this movie. It's hard to find any information about One Race. They don't even have like a website. If you even type in onerace.com, it's just one of those like random, you can buy websites kind of thing. So like, I'm sure someone owns the domain. Maybe they do. They just didn't do anything with it. There's no real way to find out the history of how One Race was made, but there's no information really on that page. But One Race was started for this movie, and it continues to be producing at least every Vin Diesel movie he's ever done.
Yeah. I was going to say it has $3 billion worldwide as of October 2017. That's insane.
Exactly. Well, I mean, all the Fast and Furious movies are in there.
That's what I'm saying, but like
7 and 8
grassroots to
a lot of money. Yeah. 7 and 8 made a lot of money. Honestly, they're close to $3 million combined, which is nuts. So yeah, Strays kind of came from One Race. I know initially we thought or joked that One Race was a play on the fact that, you know, we are all people, so we're all one race, but at the same time also Fast and Furious and cars. Turns out that's not the case.
No?
It was well before Fast and Furious. But, I mean, we have that double entendre now. Also, Vin Diesel, I guess, used to work for a catering company, and they catered for the cast and crew on this film.
Dude, he's making money moves, it sounds like. It sounds like
he's making, like, just
grinding
connections. I mean, to be honest, if you get a phone call, and Vin Diesel, of all people, is trying to sell you knives, you'd probably buy the knives. You know what I mean?
With his deep voice, he's like, you're going to need these knives.
Hey! And then he calls you the F word. So then you're like, I guess I got to buy knives because he's making me mad. So, 1997 rolls around. Movie Strays comes out to a release. I think it was probably a very limited release. And I actually don't know the box office on it. I can't find that information anywhere. But it was limited enough where that information wouldn't really be applicable. And it was really just DVD sales is what you would really count for.
And do we have that?
I don't have that, but you know what I do know? You know what I do have the figure for? How much the steelbook for the DVD is going on eBay, which is about $13. You went on IMDb and cheated, looked at some of the homework that was my job. One of the images is the steelbook, and you know I'm a collector of video games, so I have an attuned eye to some packaging. And when I saw that DVD, I'm like, wait a second, that's a steelbook. Clicked it. Yep, that's a steelbook. Went on eBay, typed in Strays 1997 steelbook. It's $13. No, I'm not buying that.
I'll get it for you for your birthday.
And you know, if you want, it's sealed for $13 on eBay. So obviously it was DVD. When we saw it, we both saw it on Amazon Prime. It was free for Prime members.
Not really.
I would love if they sponsored. And that was clearly a standard definition thing. So this is not a film that has done good enough to warrant any sort of upwards conversion in terms of quality there. But who knows? Maybe one day One Race will do like an anthology collection of all of their things.
The Diesel anthology. The Chronicles of Diesel. What if they did that? I'd be so mad.
I want us on the DVD bonus features is all I'm saying.
We'll sue them.
And speaking of DVD bonus features, we did miss out a bit. Apparently, because I read a bunch of reviews on this film, both the ones that came out at the time and the ones that were published later. Apparently, the DVD has a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that kind of shows the lifestyle of the actors at the time, as well as, you know, some of their opinions on the scenes that they're doing. I didn't check YouTube or anything for these, but yeah, who knows? Maybe some of those might be something good to look into. Also, a lot of the actors that are, you know, the main ones that are Rick is the main character, Vin Diesel's character's friends. They're all in a lot of random Vin Diesel stuff. There is like a voiceover of like a police officer dispatcher, and he is one of the friends that Vin Diesel's character has in the film. So they're all in random spots. One Race apparently, I don't know if it's still going on or not, produced a TV show that has nothing to do with Vin Diesel, but a couple of the people from this movie are in that show. And I'm like, this is they just did this. So some of these people, as their filmography skips a bunch of years and comes back, and then skips a couple years and comes back. And the biggest actor besides Vin Diesel in terms of, I guess, pop culture impact is the guy that played Fred I don't have the number up on the top of my screen. Fred is played by Joey DiDio, and he is one of the main characters in Captain Planet.
Okay.
If you remember that cartoon?
Okay.
So
yeah.
that was before this movie, too. So other than that, nothing is like a giant, oh, damn, I didn't know this guy was in The Sopranos or something like that,
Okay, yeah.
But...
Extreme Ghostbusters, voice, 97.
Yeah, that's like the bad Ghostbusters. That's like...
Law and Order, 94.
Ghostbusters is weird is that there's like a UK cartoon called Ghostbusters that has nothing to do with the movies, and that is somehow they got away with calling them Ghostbusters.
Dude,
that's why
you know what we should do? Once we finish all the films or catch up, is we should try to hit up some of these actors to get them on, just so that we can talk to them about Vin Diesel or working with him.
I'd be down for interviews.
Joey, if you're listening, hit us up. Slide into our DMs.
I'd be interested to see what some people's opinions are on Vin Diesel now that he's uber successful. But obviously this was a one-race production, but it was distributed by a couple different companies, First Look International, as well as Revolver Entertainment. So that is the information that I can give about Strays. So are you ready to take a strail down the road and have a conversation about this film? You ready?
Sure, yeah.
Sure. So, yep, the movie opens up and it shows the, production company logos, and that's when I'm like, holy shit, wait, One Race is not post Fast and Furious? So I stopped and looked it up there, but I told you all of the nothing I could find out. Film opens up with a voiceover of Rick, a.k.a. Vin Diesel, and a woman who we later learned is a character named Heather. Rick tells us his mother's boyfriend was an artist who left his mom. We're introduced, in quotes, to long-standing text of Vin Diesel's name and the type of slow-mo that involves just making each frame last 4 times as long. This all happens as he talks about how his favorite book was given to him by that boyfriend, and one that he always begged his mom to read to him. The book is titled Ferdinand, which of course it is. Do you know what Ferdinand is?
It sounded familiar. I didn't really...
It's the story of a gigantic bull who has a tender heart. His body's way too big for him.
I felt there was some symbolism
there. That's why
there.
It's too on the nose for Vin Diesel, and getting a little bit critical here. I think you have a choice on how much muscular mass you decide to give yourself if you don't want to be that type of person.
He was born ripped. All right, you don't know what it's like.
Apparently,
you don't know what it's like.
Ferdinand was born huge. Vin Diesel not so much, but that is a big theme in this book or in this movie is how he looks at the character of Ferdinand.
He does say in this opening monologue is, "Are your parents still together?" And that's the first quote I have in my notes as a possibility, because both their parents are not together.
Yep. And then the term strays pops up on the screen. We get our title here, Strays. Kind of looks like we might be in a horror movie, but we're not.
No.
Although maybe this first scene might be a horror to some people.
The jazz song in the start of the movie sounded like the same artist. I didn't look it up, as the artist at the end of Multifacial. Remember that jazz song as Multifacial ended?
Music was by Julius Robinson, which was not the Toy Story / Awakenings guy, whose name I cannot remember off the top of my head.
I don't know. Maybe it just sounds similar.
Apparently this person was sued.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know. If you Google search Julius Robinson, United States versus Julius Robinson, pops up. So
I don't know. Maybe it just sounds similar, but whether or not it is the same artist or not, I'm like, oh, Finn likes jazz to start or end movies, I guess.
He does. So the first real scene we get, besides this opening, several dudes bring women to the same apartment, trying to convince the women that they forgot the keys, but Rick is inside. They're really bad at it, but it's a pretty good scene. This was actually probably one of the funniest scenes in the movie, and it goes down from there. But I just like the idea of they always seem to have just the same story of oh man, I own this place, and I let my friend in here, and where's my keys? I actually like this scene, but to the women,
it was a different
might not
type
be
of
too much
intro too.
Yeah.
It was it could have been shorter maybe, but the fact that it wasn't short, I guess, is a little bit different. I don't know.
We then get a morning glory scene. Vin Diesel is making out with a woman in his disheveled bed. There are knocks at the door. It's the three guys from before. Then, I forget which character says it. I think it's Tony. He says, "Ricky, you've been fucking, huh?"
Yeah, I have that written down too. I was gonna say that was my other. That was my backup besides the reefer one, or the herb one. I was gonna be like, "Ricky, you've been fucking, huh?"
But he says it just so like, "Ricky, you've been fucking, huh?" Like, oh my god. It is weird that they just like hang outside his door. We learned that this is like
A problem.
the place they hang out,
And also kind of a problem
It's
for
also
him.
the problem.
Yeah.
So,
Vin's also wearing his like white wife beater.
oh, for sure.
Like
I mean, that's
classic. That's a
Vin
classic
Diesel character.
signature look.
So, it's right after this line. At this point, my neighbor next door, who usually plays the steel drums on Friday mornings, is practicing what I can only imagine is a midlife crisis, bottom of the barrel hobby to start. He's practicing his record scratching.
oh, okay.
I've never heard him do this before, but this now adds an extra layer to the next scene. Rick's three friends talk about how one of them got married, and a guy comes up to the apartment looking for Rick, and for whatever drug he was dealing to him. I assumed it was weed,
Yeah,
but
it was definitely weird. Yeah.
we get a price quote later on where I'm like, there's no way, but I think it's also a scam. There's a gay joke about the guy as he leaves. Oh, LOL, I just heard a Rasta horn next door at this point, so this guy's getting it on, my neighbor. Which perfectly matches the next scene where Rick and his friends are at a club. Rick meets a woman who Rick then introduces to his three friends.
I could just imagine.
He says that they are his brother and two cousins, Fred, Tony, and Mike. Tony is the real big guy, Fred is the smaller guy, and Mike is the guy who looks like he has it put together the most. My neighbor's getting there more and more now. Now that since he's layered in a basic bread and butter beat backing his scratching. And I'd like to give that to you because I
You recorded it.
recorded it through my wall.
Ooh, shit. Is it hot? Okay.
Yeah,
I can get down.
recorded it on my phone and then brought it into
Master
Audacity because I brought it into Audacity and fixed the levels. I got rid of just the white noise in the background.
You should send it to him and be like, dude, I can be your sound engineer. Just hit me up.
Well, I'll send you another recording I have later. Rick, Tony, and Fred take the woman and her friend back to Rick's place. The ladies go to the restroom while Rick acts all macho, saying how he did not want them there. The ladies return, and Rick is asleep. It's an awkward conversation between Tony, Fred, and the ladies. The first woman goes into Rick's room, and she wants to fuck, and he doesn't. We swap to the bathroom, and the other woman is fucking Tony, I think. And now the first woman is mad at Rick, and she's trying to get woman number 2 to leave with her, but then Rick takes her back in, and Rick says to her that he's trying to make a change in his life. The women leave.
The one guy, the other dude, was like trying to peek through the bathroom hole.
Yeah, Fred there. He's
a little freaky. I don't know.
There's a lot of like this.
That like and later on they established that they're brothers.
There's a B
They're
plot that's
brothers.
about him.
And I'm like, okay, they're brothers, right? I would never watch I would never watch you fuck or like get off to that. That is so weird. I just that like because Brent and I were watching this and we were like,
keep in mind though,
what the fuck?
There's no internet. There's no easily accessible porn. This dude at one point
I just
presses
can't,
his
dude.
forehead to the wall and starts masturbating.
I just
So
I don't know, man. This is fucking weird. I'm still gonna throw the challenge flag on that.
the next morning, white tank top Rick sees that his apartment is a pigsty and takes out the trash. He sees a woman walk by named Heather. We briefly saw her in a transition scene, and I didn't think it was important until now. That weird, random, quick transition scene. You remember that?
Yeah.
They're walking to the club, and a character named Keith says to her, who's in the window, and she's on the floor or downstairs, outside, whatever. I don't know why I called it the floor. He says something. He just says Heather, and she sees them, but it's like, I swear, half a second long. It's weird.
Yeah.
They don't talk, and the next scene is each of them in their own apartments talking about that moment. She's on the phone. He is, I guess, just talking to himself. calling himself a loser in the mirror. Fred comes in, and we learn that he's a loser. I mean, they all are. Rick has random shit he printed out in black and white hanging on his walls, including a crayon drawing of a bimbo. Did you see that? It's like someone just drew a woman with giant tits.
Yeah, I saw something like that. I'm just like, whatever.
Later, he gives it to Fred. It's like, come on. Oh, and Fred doesn't have his own place. He lives with his mom. Rick leaves to go to the store to get rolling paper, and as he leaves, tells Fred not to answer the phone. Later, as Rick is calling his own apartment, a dude from that brief scene that introduced Heather is staring at Rick. Keith is his name, and the film wants us to know that he is obviously gay.
He's checking him out.
Despite hesitation,
dude. I mean, I would check him out too. I mean, shit.
Keith invites Rick and his fam to a party he's throwing that night, which is pretty convenient. At this point, I'm not sure if this movie is just being homophobic or has something to say about homophobia. Well, we could talk about that a little bit later, but this is where like the first seeds are starting to be sowed in my mind of like, I don't know if this is like just being homophobic or not. Rick comes home to Tony and Mike having two other dudes over, one of which is named Chris, and he's super weird. And this was the point where like, does this guy have like a mental illness, or is he just supposed to be really weird?
I think he's an addict.
Because they were definitely trying to show that later, but at that moment it was just weird. Fred, meanwhile, is in the bathroom jerking it with his forehead pressed against
once again,
the tiled wall.
This guy is in, like, his hormones have to be all over the place or something. Because, like, he's like, you invited
he's got
friends
nothing
over.
to go off of.
Well, no, not even that. Just like you invite your friends over and you're like, oh, hold up, let me go to the bathroom quick. And you're going to go wank one off? Fucking weirdo.
Like, I think there is a... This movie doesn't show a lot of its themes very well, and so there's potential that there are some themes that are being tried, some at least things trying to be said that you just don't realize they're trying to be said. I mean, I think like there might be an underlying thing that he might be gay or something, but I don't really think it shows all that much. So
I don't know. I thought maybe it was more like, because they mentioned like I'll tell it when we get to it. Never mind. I'll hold my thoughts.
So Fred is jerking in the bathroom. Rick pulls him out to yell at him as to why he let all of those people in. Rick sends Fred to get them all to leave, but he doesn't let him wash his hands because I guess he actually finished in his hand.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that.
But he was still in the process.
Still gross nonetheless. Usually
it's a one and done thing. I don't know. Next, Rick and Fred are on the subway, and we learn that Fred doesn't like use soap when he showers, which is weird. But it's a very like middle school thing to think of. Like, oh, I mean, the water just hits my body and pushes all the dirt off.
Yeah, I feel like that scene was kind of just saying that, like, I mean, these guys are definitely like not living the high life, or like not even
living a life.
Well, it's more just like they're living more in a crappier area, or just don't take care of themselves, clearly. And like Vin is more like, out of all of them, he's the most put together. Not saying he's like anywhere close to Heather there, I guess.
Who, whenever they show her a place, it's like
pristine.
The Home and Garden channel.
Yeah.
Like, there's a scene where the flashing forward, the two of them are in bed, and all you can see is white sheets everywhere, even on the walls.
Well, I was going to say, because Vin Diesel's a romantic.
For sure.
Like, in all his sex scenes, and all the movies I've seen him in, they're all, like, the most beautiful, like, locations, or the room is, like, super, like, dressed up, and I'm always like, I think Vin, he loves that shit. Like, I think he's tried to make it for, like, oh, because women love, being super romantic. No, Vin Diesel loves that shit.
I mean, this is why he wears white linen a lot.
I think that's his kick. I'm not hating on him. Just, it's facts. Can't deny it.
Rick and Fred are at that party, and all they can do is snicker at the gay guys. Which I think this is where, like, it goes pretty much over the line when he says, "Oh, this guy's like a bowl of crunch berries." It's like really
there was
weird
a funny
that you walked
line,
into someone's apartment.
There was a funny line though that Keith said to. I'm not going to say it. I'll just write it to you.
Yeah,
but Bryn and I did laugh because the way he's.
Yeah,
he just said it, but he's a lot like
Just like,
but you're allowed to say it because
it's culturally acceptable that a black person can say the N word to another black person.
Like
this gay guy is able to say the F word to another gay guy, and it's not something that white people should get upset about.
Yeah, that's why I laughed. I'm like that's actually, it was really funny. It caught me off guard because I was not expecting it, but then I should have expected it because the movie up until this point has been very raw. It's very it's not sugar coated in any way.
And it doesn't also care to say, but this stuff is bad or anything either, which can make you walk away thinking, oh, that's cool. That maybe Rick and Fred walk into this dude's apartment and then
I do think that there is also
all.
an underlying, once again, he said the movie doesn't show themes well, and I think that's definitely something I'd agree with. I think there's also just maybe he wasn't doing it on purpose, but there's moments where I'm like, this is like a difference between living, like, I don't want to say the hood, but living in the hood and living, because they're both all living in the same area, and like Heather took care of herself. I'm putting that in air quotes because I don't give a fuck how you live, whatever. But there's moments that we'll talk about later where like he code switches, where he acts a certain way, but maybe that's how people talk, though. You know what I mean? So like, there's definitely like some differences, I think, in just upbringing or just how people talk to one another. I'm not saying there's a good or bad way, but I know what you mean. At the same time, yeah, you shouldn't call people. If I'm a white guy, I'm not going to go drop the N-word or call LGBTQ people the F word. So obviously, but at the same time, this is how people do talk. Sometimes, or still do, especially in
1997.
Especially 1997.
Yep. 23 years ago.
But I also do think that there is some sort of trying to say it in a way that's not racist or anything, but there's definitely like some race difference as well. I think that he's touching upon, but once again, I don't know if he does it in a good, like, a way where it's obvious, or maybe he was trying. We are
looking through this through a 2020 lens.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe people got it in 1997, and it's harder for us to get it in 2020.
Yeah. But as we go on, I'll drop more examples. I'm not trying to skip ahead too much.
As Rick is introduced to Heather by Keith, Fred is using someone else's toothbrush to clean his fingernails.
So gross. This man is gross. Stop.
Yeah. It's Keith's apartment, so unless it's either him or one of his roommates.
It's not your fucking toothbrush. Bring your own toothbrush. Jeez.
Rick and Heather then try to get a cab, but Rick is secretly telling them to leave in a real mean way. They walk. Like, literally, if you're a cab driver and you pull up and a guy just says, fuck you, and then you just immediately leave, like, that's weird. Be like, hey, sorry, can you just leave? Hey, sorry, I'm trying to impress this girl. You know what I mean? But instead it's like, hey, get the fuck out of here. I don't know.
Maybe, like, you wouldn't listen. I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
Now we get the big theme. The big theme of this entire podcast project.
Mm-hmm.
Vin Diesel trying to send a message in every single movie he's in. At least we're trying to find it. A message that you can look a certain way and feel a different way from that.
Don't judge a book by its cover. Literally, the opening monologue is the same thing.
Rick tells Heather how he is one of the most misjudged, misread guys in the city, and she hopes that's so. But damn, though, she has long teeth. Fun fact, her actor is Suzanne Lanza, and she used to be a model. Rick sings the Tin Man song from The Wizard of Oz. At one point, I thought it goes into a different song, but I don't remember.
And then he said Backstreet's Back all right at the end, and he predicted it.
He brings her to her home, and they agree to dinner tomorrow. At his own apartment, music starts playing right as my neighbor's ends his music. So
I think he was watching along with you, I think.
Probably was.
He was adding an orchestra to the movie.
He was definitely starting to learn how to record scratch. Because, you have a rhythm with it where it's not just consistently using the thing. You're doing it with the beat. But he was just doing the thing where he just kept doing it, the fast thing over and over again. Just doing it fast. And then offbeat, then fast, then offbeat, then fast. There was no...
He's learning,
it was boring. He was learning. He was having a midlife crisis. This is the same guy that practices radio voice every now and then. Tony brings two strippers over to Rick's place, and Rick is conflicted. He gets it on, though, to a slow jam that's literally just about having sex.
But
I turn on the subtitles, some of which even the subtitles don't know what they're saying. And the lyrics to this is literally just about having sex. Like, why would you...
Well, in that scene, too, he didn't want to, like, have sex with her, but, like, he almost, like, pitied her. And, like, I wrote in my notes, Diesel does his due diligence and sleeps with the girl. Like, he did it as if it was a chore. And I'm like, you can say no, Vin. But maybe that's again, it's part of his character, I guess.
The big, I guess, plot of this movie is a guy that's trying to break out of his monotony and his aimless wandering lifestyle into something more, something greater. And this is
something more
the first thing that drags him back into, like, just doing whatever he wants to do. The next morning, a Jared Fogle-looking lawyer tries to buy weed off Rick, and Rick scams him. I don't know how much it was, like the amount he was giving him, but he charged him $780 in 1997 money.
Yeah, and from the look of it, like, he did say it was like the good stuff. I'm like, what is it laced with?
But it looked like a couple grams.
Do you have PCP laced with that? Like, if you're paying $700. Yeah. Not that I ever bought weed, but I would guess like maybe $200. I don't know how much he had.
That's
but
like
it looked
he
like
could.
A little
that dude
bag.
Could buy an extremely nice TV and then some with that money. Instead, he's whatever. But Rick scams him by saying,
"It's
hey,
laced with NOS."
Yeah, maybe. I only do this for myself and a couple of friends. This isn't a business I do, but it is a business. He tells that to everyone. He says that earlier in the movie too. I didn't write it down, so it's a repeated thing. And that's something that I noticed both this and Multifacial do, where instead of... It's a kind of organic way of establishing something like this, but the unfortunate part is that the first time around, you don't realize that he wasn't telling the truth when he says, I only do this for myself and a couple other guys. I don't do this to make a living. You believe him the first time. It's only until later that you realize, oh, he was lying, but it wasn't supposed to be now you know. It was almost as if you were always supposed to know. But the benefit of this is that it feels very organic. It's as if you just watched. There was no direction, that you just saw a moment in time. You know what I mean? Where nothing is established if you just tuned in immediately to someone's life. So I appreciate this, even though I don't think it's 100% effective. Rick is ready to pick up Heather, and he has flowers for her, even though he doesn't seem like the type.
His look looked like
super
Friends.
Italian.
But it looked like Friends. Like, I'm like, like 97, I'm like, someone wore that outfit at some point, and I saw it somewhere. And I'm guessing it's Friends, because I'm like, that's the only thing I can go to.
No, yeah, I think if you look at a key art for Friends, where all of them are standing, like,
together.
Doing yes, because they're friends, but, like, one behind each other, holding onto the stomach of the person in front of them. Pretty sure Joey, Rosh, and Chandler are wearing that outfit.
That's what I'm saying. So. I saw that, and I'm like, oh my god, that is 2001 or something like that. Yeah. I'm like, he's ahead of the curve.
I don't even like Friends, and I know that. But yes, you are right. I didn't think about it when that popped up, but you are 100% right. At dinner, Rick is trying to impress Heather with an expensive line, but one that's not too expensive. And Heather wants to know more about Rick, but he deflects a lot. Also, this movie has zero intention on getting to know her. This movie is asking him questions, but not asking her the questions.
They do
okay.
They do show like some more stuff about her, but it's not through when she's meeting.
It's weird to her that she doesn't know what he does for a living, but she has no interest on telling him what she does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least the stripper said she worked in marketing. You know? It's weird. And there is like a weird little like, oh, gotcha about her story later, but like, you know, we
it's
talked
all
about
through the lens of us and not through Vin Diesel.
It's through the lens of Vin Diesel, the director, the
writer.
What
I'm saying, it's not good.
You know?
Yeah.
It's not. It reminds me of The Room. Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah.
He writes these characters based off his opinions about how people are. And they're not completely well-rounded, except for himself, in quotes. Mm-hmm. You can say the same thing for Vin Diesel's character here.
We do find
He's very well-rounded, but like she feels like the flat girl next door. I don't mean that literally, but you know what I mean? A flat two-dimensional character next door.
I was going to say, though, favorite ice cream flavors, mint chocolate chip. Do we know that is his real-life favorite flavor?
Let me find that out. Vin Diesel.
Favorite ice cream.
Favorite
That's what I'm saying. If we ever get a chance to, like, interview him,
I mean, why would he have a different answer?
That's got to be one of the questions.
First 3 Google search answers are about a story in which he stole ice cream from some restaurant.
Oh, save him. Remember him, but save him. No, I'm saying if we ever get him on, that's got to be one of the questions. Is mint chocolate chip still your? Well, we have to frame it in the way that's like, no, your answer is mint chocolate chip, or was at some point, just to confuse him. But yeah, I was like, mint chocolate chip. I don't agree, but I respect it. I also wrote Vin needs a Snapple as well.
He does get a Snapple later. Okay, so this article literally linked and talked about ice cream, but I couldn't find the word ice cream in anywhere of it, so it must have lied.
Clickbait. Bullshit.
I mean, literally, that's burying the lead, if not having a lead at all, is clickbait. On their way to see a movie, which involves the Snapple conversation, Rick gets alpha male with another dude that walks by, and that turns Heather off. She gets in a cab and leaves. Rick then goes and extremely briefly beats up the guy. It's a weird edit
How
there.
How do you feel about that, just in general?
It's very much someone that doesn't have control over their life, where someone has a negative experience with you, and then you take it out on someone that you're blaming, even though that person did not really have anything to do with it, and you know it.
Well, do you
it's
think,
like an abusive relationship 101.
Do you think they're both at fault, or do you think she's at fault? Do you think Vin was out of line?
Vin was obviously out of line, and I think that it is safe to assume from someone that you know is not like that at all, until you see that they are like that, to be like, I don't know what the fuck you are, I'm leaving. I mean, as far as she knows, he could be dangerous to her.
This goes back to my code switching thing. That, for what I've been told, is that everyone has a code switch. Specifically, if you're talking with certain people, like you don't maybe not talk the same way to me that you do to your parents. And there's moments where especially if you're, I've been told that like when you talk to your parents or you talk to your coworkers, like it's talking different. But like he's in the streets there, and like they're mocking her or something. Part of me is like, maybe he didn't do it in the right way, but maybe is it kind of on her though, at the same time, to be assuming something based off his actions when he was really just trying to defend her? Not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just curious because like I was thinking about this and my girlfriend was here, Bryn, watching it with me, and I asked her, I'm like, okay, let's say you didn't really know me well and this happened. Would you have liked that, or would you have been upset? She said maybe I've been a little uncomfortable, but at the same time I would have felt good knowing that you kind of like were protecting me, or like, because she does say like, oh, guys have been doing that to me forever, and it's like, so you're just gonna let that slide, or like you're not gonna be okay with someone defending you for that? I don't know. It was kind of like conflicted. I feel like they're both wrong. That's where I was at. Part of me is like, he was protecting her in a way. Maybe he like, in like the way she said it, I'm like, it's kind of like, I'm reading.
It caught her off guard like crazy.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, that's just kind of how I would like. You would just, if someone's like talking shit, and like it gets real like that. I don't know. That's real shit. That shit happens. You know what I mean? This isn't like, I don't know. Maybe I'm like, that's why I'm like, is it kind of a race thing?
Well,
I don't know.
People would take that situation different ways. I would never, I guess, throw myself in that situation, even hypothetically, but I would probably try to joke and laugh it off, be like, all right, get out of here, But I mean, that's me. You know, and I am the person I am.
But so I'm wondering if there's
not
sometimes
that kind
like
of person, so
there's also sometimes, like, oh, it's violent. I'm like, is it violent, or was he just yelling? Like, I don't know. There's some issues with that. And I said maybe I'm not trying to be like the uber woke guy or anything, but I'm like, I think there could be a slight race issue with that too, or like, oh, the white person's uncomfortable with person of color yelling at.
Well, we see a bit of that later.
Yeah, so I'm like, is that really? I don't know. I'm like, but once again, I don't know if that's the theme he was trying to portray. I don't know. I'm not trying to read too much into it, but like he's talked about race before, and there's moments in this movie where he talks about race briefly. So I'm like, maybe he was trying to say that, like, oh, she's uncomfortable because she's not used to this kind of lifestyle because she's all pristine or like whatever. So I don't know. It was very like that scene just really made me think, I guess. Not trying to say it's good and right or wrong, though. I'm not. If you have an opinion on it,
regardless, we're halfway through the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, Rick is playing some b-ball, and Fred is asking for money, and all of Fred's friends just humiliate him. It's honestly like I get Fred has nowhere else to go, no one else to go to, but I would just leave. Like, they were really ripping on him, like, a lot. Rick also deflects questions about that previous night he had.
Doesn't he?
Because obviously it didn't
doesn't
go
one of
very
them
well.
say I'm a pussyologist?
Yeah, some of that I'm like, all right, that's good, dude. Like, you know, banter that felt very like authentic, but like things that, you know.
Bryn was like, "Do you talk like this?" I'm like, "No, I don't hang out with these kind of dudes." Like, there's definitely dudes I've talked to who like will try to start that, be like, "Oh my god, I would just pound the pussy on freaking Jennifer Lawrence, dude, if I could." And I'll be like, "That's great, man."
Those people don't play video games like us, though.
And then I just say, like, you know who I find hot? Henry Golding. And then they get uncomfortable. They're like, "Why's it gotta be a dude?" I'll be like, "Well, because you're immature."
Tony is then dropped off by women from the other night. Rick and his dudes all talk about a whole lot of nothing, and Rick and Fred end up going to a strip club. But Rick isn't interested.
Brother.
We don't even get to see the inside of the strip club, and I think that's where their $50,000 budget might kick in.
I was gonna say, and like the little like logo they had, Bryn was like, "She has a sagging boob."
Yeah, it does. It's.
I'm like, aw.
It's someone that just learned how to do neon lights. Rick isn't interested. He's just hanging outside because he's again conflicted about does he want to continue this life or not. They end up going to a liquor store, and Fred gets all serious about love. This is where one of the main messages, not necessarily themes, but messages the film is trying to say. Essentially, if you cannot love your mother, you can't love anyone. Basically,
is that some Sigmund Freud shit?
The easiest person you could ever love, if you can't find a way to love that person, it's going to be extremely hard to find love for anyone else. At least that's how I assumed its message was trying to be conveyed.
I don't think it was like Sigmund Freud, but isn't that like the Sigmund Freud thing that like you get attracted to your mother or something like that? I forget which.
Well, it doesn't mean that.
I know, but like the way you said it, I was just like, what if it was? But
yeah.
No, definitely, 100%.
What if it's just Schrodinger's mother, a mother that both exists and does not exist? We cut to Rick sitting on his front steps, and Heather just sits next to him and invites him up. I thought this was like a daydream or something, but nope, it happened. We then get the monologue from the opening as they make up and make out.
She did say before they went upstairs, "Don't scare me like that again." And that's where I'm like, that's where my that whole thought I had earlier like came back to me. I'm like, I don't know how much I don't know if I agree or disagree. I'm confused.
I disagree with you if you think that that's problematic, because I'm just thinking about me.
I'm saying it's problematic. I'm like, I don't know. It's just like, does she not ever go outside of her bubble? I don't know. Not saying it's good or bad, I guess, but
I guess if you looked at the scene, it looked like it was going to very easily get violent. And for what reason would that happen? Because to me, that was more so macho bravado.
Oh yeah,
trying to protect.
I wouldn't
Heather,
do that, probably.
You know?
Or I'd be like, whatever, asshole, and like I'd keep moving on. I wouldn't like yell like he did. Yeah, so they make out once in the very nice bed, like I said earlier. He's a romantic.
Next morning, Fred waits outside for him, eating a sandwich, but Rick is all about that Heather. He takes her to the common street pool and talks about one of his favorite movies, Raging Bull. Gee, another bull. They talk more, and a homeless guy asks for money, which happens a lot in the film, and Rick finally gives some. And I think it's obviously just tied to his mood. Because early on in the first date, they're asked, and he says, "Oh, if you'd realize how little money I had, you'd be giving me money." Which is an asshole thing to say to a homeless person.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, he's homeless. You have, even though your apartment like probably smells or something, like you have a roof over your head.
Yeah.
Come on, Vin.
Well, it's just like humiliating the guy further, you know. But he gives some money to this homeless person because he's in a really good mood. As Rick and crew all act all thug like playing b-ball, Heather has the nice white girl excited to talk to her parents on the phone scene. Like, nice contradicted. I mean, it's like literally it goes from like, "Oh yeah, man," and, you know, playing be like just the stereotypical like we are quote unquote thugs playing basketball, to like she's doing her nails and talking on the phone to mom and dad, you know.
Yeah.
But it turns sour as her presumably white parents think Rick is in a gang based off the fact that Heather can't determine his quote unquote nationality. His nationality is American. Yeah, but as Rick and Heather watch the sunset, she peppers him with questions about himself, and I would like to repeat that this movie does not care to ask any of these same questions to her. If it's so important for her to know what he does for a living, why do they care not to tell us what she does?
We still don't, do we ever
blah.
find out like what she does for a job?
Nope. We find out that she has a kid.
But that's at the end. And that was the one like part that she mentioned. She's like, "Oh, I have to tell you something." And then she never says it, and you think it's like the racist dad thing. No, it's
right.
She has a kid. And I'm like, that could have had more oomph if they did it. There's I don't know how they could have done it better, but maybe they should have talked about it more. Be like, "Oh, what were you going to tell me?" And she's like, "Oh, never mind." You know what I mean? Maybe she like just drop it one more time.
Like maybe
I don't know.
Now it does the thing where like it's a phone call, but you only hear one end, right? They could have done a thing where maybe the parents are still upset at the fact that they have to raise their grandchild because their idiot
yeah, maybe
kid
not say kid,
decided
but
to
like
leave.
hint at it in some way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just weird.
It's just because I forgot
Instead,
about
it's a conversation about going to the wedding.
Yeah, because I forgot about it. And then at the end where they're like, "Oh, you have a kid," I'm like, "Oh, that's the thing that we never mentioned that I totally forgot about," because they never brought it back up until this point. Till the end of the film.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Rick talks about each of his friends and throws out another gay joke. Which is weird to me, too, because she's friends with Keith. And he made a gay joke about Keith and Keith's, like, gay friends.
Sadly, just because you're friends with the gay person doesn't mean you can't be homophobic.
Right, but it's just...
Or you can't be, like, behind their back be like, "Man, if only Johnny wasn't gay, he can hang out with us, you know?" Or he doesn't know what it's like.
Rick says that him and his friends are all strays because they have no fathers.
And I thought of the meme, the Rick Dalton meme that's been going around. Have you seen that meme where he's pointing? Because it'll be like a screenshot from a movie where the person says like the title of the movie.
That's the title.
Yeah, and I thought of him like, oh, someone should make a meme version of this for Rick Dalton and be like, "Hey, remember this movie Strays?"
I remember when Family Guy did that though. It was like they finally. It's
That's
like
true. Didn't they do it?
One of the episodes, some aside, just like Peter does that whenever a movie says its title, and as he's talking about this, he's driving and he hits someone, and they like who's walking by, and the guy says, "Why could you do this to me? I'm a Family Guy," and that does the point. But by the way, when I was editing an old episode, you were talking about Modern Family, and I thought you were talking about Family Guy. We had a whole conversation.
Really?
We were talking about two different shows. Yeah.
Oh boy,
that's more on my fault than yours for sure, because I must have zoned out when you said the word Modern Family.
How did we go that far? Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. Huh.
I was actually surprised he didn't say that. He didn't joke and say that him and his friends are bastards, because they are. They grew up without fathers.
Well, I thought a bastard's when you have a kid that isn't with your wife. That's a bastard.
No, a bastard is someone that doesn't have a father.
I always thought it's like if I go off to war, have a kid, and I never come back. I guess it is. Maybe it's both. That you whatever. Go ahead. Just bastard.
No, I want to look this up now.
Because I know, like in Game of Thrones, they always said, "Oh, he's a bastard," because his mother was not of the family, the wife, the queen.
A person who was born out of wedlock.
Okay, yeah.
And hence often considered to be an illegitimate descendant. But yeah. I mean, you can. I mean, it's at the point now where you just call someone a bastard, and you don't literally mean anything to do with.
Well, yeah, it's also an
family or
insult,
heritage.
like you bastard.
Yeah.
So
So,
now we know.
yeah.
We're learning so much on this episode. It's amazing.
Flash forward, and Rick and Heather are at Rick's place, which for the first time she's there. And Chris shows up, that guy from before, to ask for more free weed. And Rick just goes ballistic on him with the door open. And Heather leaves because this is... Now she knows that he's a drug dealer.
Well,
and that he's living a dangerous lifestyle. You know?
Yeah. But hey, he needs his money, though. That guy's not paying up.
So, flash forward a little bit further. Rick is outside on a payphone, leaving Heather an apology voicemail. I'd like to imagine what it'd be like to live in the 90s in a city where, like, you just call someone and you hope that they're there.
Yeah, when I was watching the Wu-Tang show, there was moments when, like, you know, you call their pager or you're like there was a moment when, like, one of them has, like, a breakup or whatever. And he calls the phone and they don't answer. And I'm always like, it's like, you know, when you're waiting for a text back and you just don't get it back for like a while. And then like that anxiety. I'm like, imagine waiting a whole day because you called someone once. And you're like, I can't call them back until 6:30 tomorrow. I know they're not going to be home because they're working. Like you just have to know like, oh, I know Ethan's not working or he's off of work at 4:30. So I'll call you then. You know what I mean? Like
I remember old episodes of Seinfeld where they're trying to meet at the movie theater. And they're separate, and they're trying to figure out where people are.
You would just assume,
be like,
I'd call you like a couple days before, hey, want to see Star Wars at 6:30 on Friday night? And you'd be like, yeah, sure. I'm like, okay, see you there. I wouldn't never text you to like confirm. You know what I mean? I would just show up, and if you didn't show up, then I'll be like, what the hell?
Outside Rick's place, Fred and Tony talk, and it's not very nice stuff, to be honest. There's talk about various STDs and spreading the love around. Meanwhile, Rick is talking to some character as if he's been established, but he hasn't, so it's kind of weird. I think he's the store clerk. Anyway, he's giving Rick relationship advice. Sometimes you just don't know until you know. Rick returns to his place and lets Fred and Tony inside. Fred and Tony are playing a video game console that I cannot identify.
I thought it was maybe
an
a
Atari
Genesis or Atari. Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Playing a video game console that I can't identify, and Atari sound effects are playing. I think it is a Genesis, but the controller doesn't exactly look like it.
It's hard to get a good.
Yeah,
I'm actually disappointed. I'm actually disappointed that you didn't know.
If I could see the ABC, I'd be like Genesis.
But like, I don't. When it came up, I'm like, I think that's the Genesis, and I'm like, oh, don't worry, Bryn. Ethan will know.
But where the cord reaches the controller was a flat piece.
Third party
Genesis are smooth, but yeah, exactly. It could be, and then who knows? You know, maybe that'll be people's homework. They could tell us what it was. Tony now tells Rick that he has gonorrhea and gave it to his girlfriend, but lied and said that she gave it to him. And Rick goes nuts. He just goes... It's probably the big, passionate speech that he has, that Vin Diesel has in this movie. I don't know if it's super effective, if it maybe could have used a few more takes, but it is what it is.
I didn't mind it. I didn't hate it or anything. I thought it was like all right. Yeah, I wasn't like I got where he kind of was coming from, being like, yeah, you're like, he's calling out his friends. Yeah,
yeah. He then laments on the lifestyle he's been living and how that's prevented him from really getting to know someone and having them care for him, which is true. Heather and Keith talk outside, and she now knows she can't give up on Rick, which is weird because the movie ended up not going in this direction anyway.
That's for the sequel.
Yeah. Strayed away from each other, and now we're back. Rick is getting rid of the material that makes up his drug-dealing lifestyle, but giving it to the worst possible person he could have given it to, Fred. Fuck. Why would he give all this stuff
Honestly,
to Fred?
Though, fuck Fred.
I mean, yes, but like...
Fuck Fred.
Fred
should be smart enough to know that like he's giving it to him to just sell once and that's it, but
or just use it all himself at once. Die.
Weed doesn't kill, Ethan.
Yeah. Heather has a kid?
What?
As Rick gets into a cab to go visit his mom, Heather buys a copy of Ferdinand at a bookstore and makes it out to her child. But at first, when I saw that, I thought it was being made out to Rick because she knew that he liked the book. But then it said love always. I'm like, I don't know if she would write that to him. But then I was like, oh wait, it's the kid. And I had to rewatch it a couple times. Then the credits roll. There's a random mid-credit scene, which I don't understand. And then the credits keep rolling. That's it. Do you understand what this
I think it was supposed to be like a
scene was?
Some sort of joke, but just nothing landed. Like
I just don't get it.
Yeah, there was
Who
no.
Who are these people? Was that his mom? That was my first thought. But like,
I don't know.
I don't get it. It was weird. So that's Strays. That was the 1997 Vin Diesel written, produced, directed film Strays. So I guess I don't know where we go, how we segue into this next, but what do we think about the movie overall? What
Outside of Vin Diesel, or do you?
Yeah, just okay. Talk about just the movie. You know what I mean? You mentioned Vin Diesel, but what is your opinion on the movie?
I thought for a full length film that clearly I knew was going in, it was probably have a small budget. Because it wasn't like this is one of the fast movies. Like Universal isn't chipping a couple dollars into it. So I had very low like expectations, I guess, for in terms of like sound quality and stuff. Because there's moments where like the movie was like super loud for no reason, and I'm like, I can't really blame them for that.
And plenty of parts where you can't understand what anyone's saying
because it's not. And
like
clear.
I said, I had subtitles on, so I could make sure I had quotes written down verbatim. And a lot of the times the subtitles have no idea what the person says.
Yeah.
It just says inaudible.
But like I can't really like I'm assuming if I made a film right now, I don't know what equipment he had, I probably couldn't have done a better job with the audio quality because audio is really hard to do, especially if you don't have a good like crew or enough people because maybe you because for that like one scene when they're on the pier or whatever or where people are like skateboarding behind them, it got super loud. I'm like, no, you need to cut that out.
Yeah,
in between the dialogue, you know what I mean? And there's not much you really can do for that. There was moments where it was a little choppy, but overall, like I feel like for a full length film, it never felt like there was. There's never really a point where it dragged. I felt so. I feel like that was pretty good. It kept me generally interested. I didn't hate it. I'm like I put it in the same like. Kind of like not category, but the same like feeling I had towards Multifacial, where I'm like, I didn't know Vin Diesel can do this, I guess, or like, you know, I knew he could direct after watching Multifacial, but to see a full length film, I'm like, there's elements there where I'm like, I think if he had a good crew around him, or like a really good producer, where he's like directing it 100%, I think and it isn't a fast movie. It's more of a serious film like this. Like I'd be more interested to see what he can do now. I guess it piques my interest again, as Multifacial did. I'm not saying it's a great film. I think it's all right. If I give it a out of 10, which is what I guess I always do on here, I just go with the gut feeling. I don't really have like, if this happens, then it raises it up, you know, X, Y, Z. No, my gut feelings tell me like I'm gonna give it a 5, maybe a 4, 5 or 4.
Yeah,
4.5.
See, for me, I thought this movie was pretty boring. It's interesting that you said that you think that the film did a good job of keeping you engaged enough throughout the whole thing.
Maybe because I was going in with like very low expectations, or like I don't know if it's that or just like. I like Vin Diesel a lot. Now that we're doing this podcast, I'm just intrigued. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe in the film itself, maybe it's just Vin Diesel. I don't know.
For me, like a lot of this movie was really boring to me. A lot of the scenes where they're at his place, there's a lot of talk between the main three friends there. It's weird that like they build the character Mike as if he's one of the 4 dudes, but Tony and Fred have way more scenes than Mike does. Mike's only in a couple of them. But the scenes between the 3 of them are honest to God really boring. There's a lot of talk that serves no purpose. is not really good at conveying any sort of camaraderie or that these are friends or anything like that. They seem to be like, getting on each other's nerves in ways that aren't friendship-like. It almost seems like, okay, why are you letting these people over? It's
a little toxic, yeah. Like he's almost not too nice, but like he plays tough, but at the end of the day, he still lets them win. Like, no, kick those people out of your house and be like, I'm sorry, I know we're buds, but you're not even working, so
yeah, get out. Yeah,
at least sell some weed or something.
Vin Diesel's job is yeah.
Well,
yeah.
At the same time, like, hey, help out, help me sell weed. You know what I mean? Do something, because clearly they're just hanging out all the time.
Yeah. Well, I guess Tony can just fuck random girls and they'll buy him motorcycles and shit.
That's
insane.
Yeah.
Damn. I don't know. Like, this movie was a lowercase f fine for me. I would never obviously see this if it wasn't for this podcast. I think you can be the same way. I think you would say the same thing.
Unless like someone like told me like, hey, have you seen this Vin Diesel's movie he directed? I'd be like, no, what is it called? Like, I'd have to be
convinced to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this movie has a lot of things it seems like it wants to say, but it's hard to tell if it has anything to say about the things. Like I said earlier, like when we watched Multifacial and we get that opening monologue and he's being extremely homophobic, and then right after he talks to someone on the phone saying about how he hates how that made him look and he doesn't want to look like he is homophobic. He literally says he doesn't want to come off like he's some sort of homophobe. This movie makes me think that Vin Diesel in real life at that point was a homophobe because of the way that character is acting without any sort of repercussion or
once
consequence
again,
to that.
The character.
But it suggests to me that he thinks that's fine.
I disagree. I think he's not sugarcoating the lifestyle of people living in New York City in that area at the time. Like, there's people
I feel like there are ways to do that in which it still gets it clear to the audience that, hey, the people that made this film don't think that this is okay. There's a difference between showing real, raw, gritty, New
most
York,
of like,
and still being like, hey, but like this is kind of weird, right? Let's talk about this.
I don't know. I just think that like at the time, especially more because a lot of them are people of color, like colored communities at that time, and there's even still today where there is elements of homophobia or toxic masculinity, and it is a problem that people of color have talked about who grew up in more not the better parts of these cities like New York City. And I just think that he's playing a character. Like, I don't think maybe we don't know. We can never confirm whether or not he believed that. If you asked him that now, he probably would be like, no, of course not.
I don't think he would be, because I think, unless he was lying about his true character in Multifacial, I don't think he was homophobic at all. I think that it does not do a good job in conveying those scenes in any form of importance. I don't think it shows.
I just think
what you're saying very well. I don't think it shows it very well.
Maybe, but I just think it's more. That's just how it is. Not saying it's good or bad. Sometimes you don't need to tell people, "Hey, this is bad." People just have to. They're already going to have an opinion, because some people get upset.
These scenes are like weirdly placed. They're like not very. They always seem like they're happens of circumstance. Sometimes we linger on them too long. Sometimes they're so brief. It's like, wait, what? Like the first time when the dude comes up to buy weed and he's like, oh, do I know you? Did you go to the gym? And it's just a real brief, like, oh, it's a guy trying to blah, blah, blah with me, I don't think it was done very well, even for what you're saying. But that's just me. My opinions on this film are...
I kind of disagree. I get what you're saying, though, 100%. There's definitely
it could be much better made if
the movie, generally could be
true.
Much better made. I still think, like, the dialogue in general was, some points you couldn't even hear it, like you said. Other parts just felt out of place. I just think he was trying to go for it's a gritty, like, just a bunch of dudes who are low-life people who aren't. Well, I mean, maybe he's the only one that's like really trying to make ends meet with selling weed or whatever, but like all of them just kind of hang out and fuck bitches, and that's kind of like just the culture. I think it's just kind of talking about the culture. That's how I interpreted it. I don't know if that. Once again, though, overall, this movie doesn't really show good like themes or solidifies it. So like we don't really know what the message here at the end was besides, oh, don't judge a book by its cover again, kinda, but not really, because I still do things that fit that stereotype. I don't know.
Okay. What I was about to say, I don't think that the movie does a very good job with the women in its movie, and it's mainly just what's her name, Heather. It, like I said a couple of times, the movie has no intention on getting to know her, and I don't think that is any sort of message, or like you were saying in that other part, the way things are. I think it is literally just poor direction, poor writing.
I think they had an opportunity to maybe establish that more if that's what they were trying to do, but we really don't know because it wasn't executed well.
And just overall, I feel like the movie just dragged and dragged and dragged. If I were to give it a score out of 10, I probably would give it like a 3. The only thing I can think of that wasn't poor in terms of the filmmaking is a lot of the camera work seemed to be fine. It seemed to be fine.
I wonder
like,
if there was some
I
issue
was
with
never
the format,
like,
because when I was watching it, there's parts where like the cameras were talking off screen, and I'm like, what is this camera angle? But I thought it made me feel like maybe it's cropped on my TV or something. I don't know what is going on, but also could have been like it was shot on a certain type of film that isn't compatible.
That is a good point. I mean, television is shot to be in 4:3, but a theatrical full motion picture is still shot at that time in a 16:9 format, widescreen as they would call it. Was this movie shot that way? Because it wasn't
no idea,
an actual theater movie. You know what I mean?
It just didn't.
So maybe what we saw was zoomed in and cropped. Who knows?
I have no idea, because there's moments where I'm like, that doesn't like. Because overall, like in multifacial, like every shot was fine. There was nothing that ever felt like, for being someone who that was his first short film. Like I'm like, oh, that's pretty impressive. Like knowing where to, like you always should shoot over the same shoulder when you're going back and forth in dialogue. Those kind of things. And I never like saw anything where it was like.
An argument I can make though is that that's a lot shorter. You can really spend and focus on a lot more for each little tiny scene.
But I mean, overall, like I thought
this was 105 minutes long.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I would probably give it a 3 out of 10. Like this was a bad movie that is only importance is Vin Diesel in terms of where our purpose for watching this is. I don't think it does its message very well at all. Like our characters doesn't need to see the fruits of the labor in terms of going through an arc or anything like that. Like the conclusion is that he's going to go see his mom, someone that he's pushed off for, I guess, 5 years,
something like that. Yeah, 5 to 7.
7 years.
I think
he
it
was
was
25.
7,
yeah, so it would have been 7, I guess. Like that's fine. We don't need to see him succeed or anything like that. But like at the same time, though, we do see a lot of parts in the movie where he is conflicted and he bumps back to his old ways. Whether he sleeps with that one random woman or he goes to the strip club. It could very much be that he goes to see his mom. She has a shitty boyfriend, and he bounces off and it's back to the way he was. You know what I mean? Not saying that the film has to show it succeed to actually have, the arc, but I don't think that the message of that actually really worked out very well. It kind of just
ended abruptly. Like
I was expecting
some sort of makeup.
For briefly, I thought Heather was giving the book to Rick there before realizing no, it's for her kid that is on the phone. I thought they were going to meet, and I realized, oh wait, no, that was the last time they saw each other, which is weird. Which then paints that earlier conversation where she's talking to Keith there about him. I don't know, but the movie was for me.
I think there was, for me, I guess I don't really watch too many romance movies. I don't know if I would categorize this film as a romance, but I'm going to say sure. It's more of a drama for sure before a romance film. But I only gave it a 4 or 5 just because I think there was elements there that he might have been trying to portray. He just didn't do it well enough. But I'm going to let it go because this is his first full-length film that he directed. And I just go back to, I'm like, how many, like, there's a lot of actors who probably or might even be big now who didn't try to do something like that, you know. I am kind of disappointed that it was basically kind of the same message as Multifacial was in a way, where like don't judge a book by its cover. I think Multifacial does a better job of
taking the training wheels off, and now this is his first real attempt at really showing it.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue that maybe making shorts is harder in a way because you only have 25 minutes to establish either a character arc or a message, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. There's more characters in this film compared to Multifacial. I think I gave it a 5, I think, too, just because I feel like it is, like you said, training wheels are off. I feel like I could tell he put effort. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he just got some money, made a movie for fun. Like he was taking it seriously. What is it perfect? No. But I don't know. I think it's better than Multifacial. But I know we wanted to.
We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
I'd like to end in each episode when we talk about the movie itself. I'd like to end that little segment with a review from someone else. So this is a mini segment from Emmanuel Levy, who did this for Variety back in the day. I don't know if they just posted it, but he also has a website, emmanuellevy.com. A segment from his review says, Strays provides an exploration of male camaraderie and the price one pays for belonging to a closely knit group of losers, that while fulfilling some vital psychological functions for some, also arrests emotional maturation and personal growth for those who wish to move beyond their immediate lives in the hood. So that's one of the few reviews I could see for
that.
It.
That is a lot nicer than anything we said.
I think it actually sums up some of the things that we were.
That's what I'm saying. It does it in a nicer way. I'm like, yes, you should have just stole it.
I mean, I guess I could have just not said that. And said the things as if I said it.
And then years later, when someone calls you out on it, you'll be like, I don't know. I'll make an apology video though.
Oh, no one listens to this. It's fine. So, what do we think about Vin Diesel himself in the movie? And then we'll rank his performance. Or do we want to rank the movies themselves first?
I feel like we already
Why don't we do our rankings at the end? We'll do our rankings at the end.
Well, what else are we doing next?
Well, what do we think about Vin Diesel's performance?
Oh, you want to do that
one?
Okay, so we are ranking then.
What do we think he did? How do we think he did? Did we think he'd do anything?
So what were our rankings last time? We had, obviously, Multifacial's number 1, and then Awakenings. Janitor dude. As obviously
last. Yeah.
I'm going to put, I think I just have to naturally, since we have more substance, more to work with, and seeing just more from him, I think I have to put this as number 1. I think I have to put Strays as number 1.
Really? I disagree.
As an actor.
Well, yes. We're not talking about the movies themselves.
As an
obviously, because I think Awakenings is a better movie than both of these. I think that his performance in Multifacial is better than his performance in Strays. I think it comes down to quality over quantity. I think you have a lot.
How much does that have to do with the movie?
He had a lot more opportunity to reshoot scenes, and I think there isn't a single scene with Vin Diesel in Multifacial that doesn't serve a purpose, doesn't put a message forward, for what the movies or what the short film's trying to say, and doesn't actually show why Vin Diesel is a good actor. I think overall for Strays, for a second I almost got the movies mixed up in my head, the titles. I think for the most part in Strays, he does a lot of being a character going through the motions rather than expressing what he thinks that character's feelings are in each scene as much as he did in Multifacial. Now, I think it's easy to assume that, the life of an actor is something that he can relate to emotionally more than the life of a drug dealer. Who knows? He might have done that. I don't think that we would know. I don't think he would publicly say that unless... he is rich now, so who knows? But I think that Multifacial overall is better in terms of Vin Diesel's acting and what he personally, his character, and since he directed and wrote both of them, is trying to convey with these works. I say that Multifacial is better than Strays in that regard.
I feel like the reason it's better is because he only is in so many scenes. He did really good with those 3 scenes. I think he did. I feel like in Strays he had more scenes that were close to the same standard overall. I'm saying as like an overall arcing in Strays. Maybe not every scene was great by him because he wasn't like. But how much is that to just the character too? Are you like? I feel like you're kind of basing it off of the character.
In both ways, the characters are kind of the same, right? They're both struggling with the same kind of thing in a sense.
Yeah.
Multifacial's character, I think his name was Mike, if I'm not mistaken, was going through the motions of auditions for little tiny gigs, and he wants to break it out and further his career as someone that he truly thinks he is. And obviously, Strays is we got someone going through the motions as a low-life drug dealer trying to be someone that deserves a woman like Heather.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how we solve this ranking.
Yeah, we don't have a third party.
We can't vote.
We don't have a third party to come in here and be like, we could.
And I don't necessarily
do
want to keep going back and forth trying to convince each other.
Yeah,
or debate. But
I'm trying to see. What is Strays? I'm trying to think of like.
I don't really agree with some sort of. We need to boil down the metrics of.
Yeah, I know.
How many minutes?
Or we do a coin
I mean?
flip and call it a day. I mean, like I agree with you too. I mean, I'm willing to.
I think these are the two of the easiest things to compare to because it's a Vin Diesel thing production,
like if
starring
you're
Vin
comparing
Diesel
this
with the same message.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of easy to compare the two, at least more than we might be able to compare.
I say though, but it's easier
Pacifier.
to compare. I think, like I said, I think Multifacial is easier to say it's better, is because I think it's a better film in that there's only like 5 real scenes where he's like acting in it, as opposed to Strays where he's acting for a longer period of time and trying to play that character.
I can see it both ways. I can see
know.
It
I
a diamond in the rough shines brightly, and I can also see where a rising tide.
Do you
lifts
think
all
Vin
boats.
Diesel's the best
actor?
actor
A good movie
in
makes
Strays?
him better. I honestly, I mean, I guess yes, but I think that's mainly because he is making himself the best actor. Again, this is a
there's other people who have
film by him.
some dialogue too.
I would say I don't know if I want to put Heather as second.
I was gonna say in Multifacial we really have like
Honest to
dialogue
God,
from like random people, so there's no one even compared to him in that film.
If I can be real to you, honest to God, I think it might be Fred. I think he might be the best actor. I think he's very consistent on his character. I think he portrays a lot of extreme insecurities very well.
Which insecurities?
That he's a loser and that he just accepts the fact
never
that
get
he's
that vibe
always
at
going to
all.
be a loser.
If anything, I think Vin Diesel's character, he's the one that's his whole character is I don't want to be this lowlife. I want to be with this girl.
Oh, Fred has no intentions on changing. I think Fred came to the conclusion that he doesn't get to change, or he just never will, and he's more than fine being this type of person. I think he almost... I don't want to say he does a better job than Vin Diesel, but I think that's also mainly because of the amount of time we're spent with Vin Diesel in this. But I don't know. It's just a thought that I had. That I think he was really good in this movie as an actor. I think more so than, say, like, if you look at like Tony... I think Tony portrayed his role very blandly and boringly. Keith was very stereotypical, which fine, whatever. I don't know if he really had anything much of a standout performance.
I like this one quote.
Everyone else
I wrote this one quote down earlier.
Yeah, that you sent me. Yeah.
No, I didn't send you any quote.
You sent me 2 words.
No, if you really love that boy, you'd be a fool to give up on him. I'm like,
yeah,
I like that. It's dope.
Maybe he was talking about her kid. No, she had mentioned Rick's name. Right?
No. I'm like, if that's it, and we just broke this whole thing wide open, dude. Then
that's
I'm like,
honestly lame. It's honest to God lame if you have to convince someone to love their child, an actual child, not like, oh, he's 32 and he's killed people. But you know what I mean? Then maybe you cannot love that person. Yeah. But if there's like 5, maybe, yeah.
I'm willing to just say multifacial number one. I'm fine with that. I'm not I don't really like hard disagree with you. If I hard disagree with you, then I would be more firm. But like I was just leaning more towards Strays just because I feel like I had more material to work with. I feel like if Multifacial was an hour-long movie, I don't know if he would have done better. I don't know. Like, that monologue is great, but if you take out that monologue, do you remember any of the other dialogue in it?
In Strays?
In Multifacial?
Yeah, to be honest. I don't know.
But also recency bias, too. It's probably playing that. I'll compensate. That's fine.
I will say this, though, to kind of push it your way back a bit. Steven Spielberg saw this film at the Cannes Film Festival.
Okay, so we got
that's what put him.
Okay,
that's what put him in Saving Private Ryan. It's just the fact that there was 2 different film festivals, 2 different years, and he took a project that was his own to both of them. That's why a lot of the facts get mixed up. Because it doesn't really make sense for a 1995 film to convince Spielberg to cast him in a movie he doesn't do for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Spielberg was interested in this, but to me, I think that if you look at, I've seen a lot more reviews for Strays and Multifacial than I'm sure you've seen, if you've seen any of them.
I don't really look at reviews because once I start looking at reviews, my opinion starts to change. So I just try to.
See, I wrote all mine down first. I wrote all mine down.
Well, no, I mean, I write stuff down, but
because you're 100% true. That's how you become plagiarizing people.
Yeah, I mean, I write stuff down before we do the show. I write stuff down, and I come right in. I don't look at the rating. Like I said, a 5 out of 10. IMDb gave it a 5.6. So if anything, the people like it more.
IMDb also does 10 stars, and it's like, come on, I have to count these. It's not easy to see. Just right out of 10.
It does say 5.6. There's no stars.
When I was looking at
you're looking on the.
There was a user review I read briefly, and it literally was like a horizontal row of stars. And I'm like, come on, man. I can't easily see this. Anyway, looking at a lot of the reviews and for Multifacial and Strays, a lot more people look at Multifacial as, oh my god, this guy can act. This is a well-made piece of acting by him. Than they do Strays. So there we have it. The official ranking of Vin Diesel's performances thus far at number 3, I guess. Yeah, because number 1 is the best. Number 3, we have Awakenings as the orderly, unnamed orderly. Number 2, we have Rick. Not Rick Dalton, but Rick from Strays. And number 1, reigning supreme as of right now, we have Mike from Multifacial. This has been the Vin Diesel Ranking Power Hour.
Well, we have another Ranking Power Hour now.
Yes. Now let's. This is for funsies, I think, because this focus of this podcast is about Vin Diesel himself, not necessarily the nuance too much of. Although I guess we talked a lot about the movies themselves. We're gonna rank the movies now. It's gonna be a different ranking order, I assume, towards the end of this, as it does at the beginning. What I don't know. You give me your list. What do you think?
Well, our list
fits better than
our list. I mean, before was definitely Awakenings was the better film. Vin Diesel aside, I guess Awakenings still would have to be number 1, right?
Yeah.
Are we 100% agree?
That is a very good made film that was engaging.
Robin Williams
the whole time.
is amazing.
Yes. I mean, Robin Williams.
I'm so
is
glad
amazing.
We're doing this podcast because I don't think I ever would have found that gem.
No. Although it is a little bit weird. I have a coworker that I'll talk to about movies every now and then. I'll be like, yeah, I saw this 1990 film starring De Niro and Robin Williams. And he's like, oh, is that the one where they all wake up? I'm like, yes.
Someone knew.
Someone knew.
So yeah, Awakening's number 1 for sure.
I doubt anyone would know about Strays, though. So yeah, I think, okay, so then Awakenings is number 1.
This is where the debate
comes. What's number 2? Because I think
Multifacial is a better
Multifacial.
Film. Yeah.
So Strays is number 3, right?
Yeah.
So then there we have it again. I don't think we can
Saving Private Ryan's going to be. Since you haven't seen it, I already know it's going to be a tough fight. with Awakenings. I'm already thinking it's going to be better, but I don't know. It's been a hot minute since I've seen Saving Private Ryan, so I'm actually excited. I think I actually have it on DVD. I might have to see, but
you could save a couple bucks.
It's hard out
But
here.
yes, our next episode, which will launch on June 1st. Wow.
May
It's crazy to
1st.
look into the future. Nope, this episode's going up on May 1st, buddy.
Oh my god, what month? Dude, I don't know. I'm so backwards. We need to get
Our
out of
next
this.
episode comes out on June 1st. It is about the film Saving Private Ryan.
June
Yes, that's
1st,
correct.
dude.
The 169-minute Spielberg epic that came out in the year of 1998. According to some brief researching, you can find it on YouTube, Google Play, Vudu, iTunes, probably Amazon Prime, maybe to rent, maybe not. Just, I'm sure it's an easily accessible film. Just go knock down your parents' garage door, and they probably have a VHS of it somewhere, probably next to the two VHS tapes.
My
that
dad
make Titanic.
has one of those giant posters of Saving Private Ryan. I would hang him up.
Interesting.
If I had an actual house, I would be able to take him from him and hang him up because he doesn't have him hanging anywhere, and he always told me I could take him. But one of them is a Saving Private Ryan, and it's nice poster.
Or you know what? Maybe we'll jump ahead to episode 12 and talk about the pacifier. No. Next
Oh my
episode is
God.
Saving Private Ryan. You can look forward to that on June 1st, 2020. Hopefully this Corona stuff is over and we can talk about
Going
Vin
outside.
Diesel going outside. Yeah.
That's our D-Day,
Well,
huh?
Until then, I've been Ethan, and this has been Devin, and we're going to leave. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.